Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
So much love for Waves Nightclub, Expo 86. We thank everybody. They remember the see-through floor and the fish and all of that. Jamie McLennan coming up, and a reminder that all of our Wednesday guests are brought to you by the Alberni Power and Marine RPM Group. Located in Port Alberni, Alberni Power and Marine, I sound like Joe Cocker there for a second. Alberni Power and Marine is one of Vancouver Island's most trusted boat dealerships, the largest Mercury Marine dealership in Canada. Their service team just won for a fourth straight year a CSI score above the national average. It's hard to do. Make your appointment today for the 2022 boating season at albernipowermarine.com. Jamie McLennan, Noodles from TSN, he worked the game last night at Rogers Arena, Ottawa over Vancouver in a shootout, and he joins us now. Jamie, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you doing today?
Very, very well. Did you ever make it to Expo 86 in Vancouver?
I did. I think 86, I don't know how old I would have been. I've been 15 years old. I was a 71 birthday, and I swear our school flew in for it.
Wow.
And it was really cool. Yeah. Spent a couple days down here. So I don't remember what it was all about, I'll be honest. That's my ignorance. But I remember just the school, it being a school trip, and I thought it was fantastic.
It was a big deal. Obviously, you're 15. You didn't make it to pardon me. You didn't make it to Waves Nightclub. Hey, Ottawa beats the Canucks. I got all choked up just thinking of Expo 86 there. Good memories. Ottawa beats the Canucks in a shootout. I thought the Canucks looked tight last night. A lot of energy in the crowd. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to call it a trap game because it certainly wasn't. You needed the points. But they looked afraid to lose, if that makes sense. And obviously, I felt bad for Thatcher Demko as well. You know, when you're not scheduled to play, there was talk that Spencer Martin was going to be in the building or be there because Demko wasn't feeling well, and all of a sudden Halak comes out and your starting goaltender's pressed into duty. I certainly don't lay any blame on him. I thought he was good. It's just, for me, he's played such good hockey and played so much. I thought he needed a scheduled night off and him getting pressed into service. But, they get 1 point, but that was a critical point they left on the table. And, they looked afraid to lose it. And Ottawa, obviously teams that aren't in the playoff picture, they're loose. They're just playing spoiler every night, and the Senators were able to get it in a shootout.
How tough is that, Jamie? You're an ex-goaltender. Well, once a goaltender, always a goaltender. But to enter a game where you believe you're going to have the night off.
Yeah, I mean, I was more on the other side because as a backup, your job was to never, ever, let the starter come in. So if you let in 9, you were staying in. And that's the biggest challenge. I hope Flack's okay. It looked like a weird injury. I'm not sure if his fingers got squished on the play. We couldn't tell on our replay what had happened. But I was disappointed because, I wanted Halak to – he had a really good first period. He looked really sharp. And I wanted him to finish the game because, there's a lot of meaningful games for the Canucks, obviously, with Minnesota coming up and Calgary that you were going to need Demko for. And obviously he'll run the table. But I just was hoping that, he'd get a mental and physical night off. But it's very tough when you're sitting on the bench and there's an injury or an off night to come in. It's your job, and I know that's what you're paid to do. But it's easier said than done, put it that way.
Jamie, your thoughts on the Canucks? We haven't had your views on them in a while. They are 30-14-8 under Bruce Boudreau, one of the hottest teams in the league since the coaching change. Do you see enough there going forward where, even if they don't make the playoffs next year, you can see it next year or the year after?
Yeah, I think there's pieces certainly to build around and be proud of. The coaching change, it had to happen. It's unfortunate. The thing is, where was the extra save? Where was the goal from Besser? Where was Pettersson's play? at the starting of the year. And people say, well, it's the way they're deployed, maybe by the coach. The penalty kill hasn't gotten better at all, which is something that is concerning, especially when you have an elite goaltender like Demko. But for me, it all comes back down to star power in that core. So, I think Horvat's a fantastic player. Pettersson is really starting to come into his own as a special player. And if he can have a consistent season next year, it's all about your stars. That's what this league is all about now. It's star-driven. And if your stars perform, you have success. If they don't, then it's a battle. And at the start of the year, too many guys had slow starts, and it ended up costing Travis Green his job. And ultimately, if they don't make the playoffs, you can point back to a slow start for a lot of their top players of why they came up short.
Jamie, the Toronto Maple Leafs have no shortage of stars. It's, again, all eyes are going to be on the goaltending in the playoffs, but Jack Campbell's won 6 straight. Can he keep her going into the postseason?
You hope so. This is a guy who's never started more than 26 games in a season. So with the scheduling and the COVID shutdown this year, he ended up playing. He's played a lot more. And, he hit the ditch there for about 2 months and got injured. But he's come back confident. It doesn't hurt that the team in front of you is playing very well. They can kind of outscore any issue that they've got. So, all eyes are on Toronto is can they do it in the playoffs? Because, you can be a regular season hero, and I call that there's a lot of teams that are, but you have to be able to back it up in the playoffs. When the ice is contested, when it's a little bit more physical, and, every play is under the microscope. So will they be able to do it? And it will come down to goaltending. And, Jack's going to get every opportunity. They pretty much, it's him or bust, because Eric Shalgren is a 25-year-old rookie that kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but they're not relying on him. If Shalgren's in the net, there's, an injury or an inconsistency. It's not going well for the Leafs.
Jamie, back to last night's game, there were some questions about the players Bruce Boudreau used late and in the shootout. Sheldon Dries a couple of shifts in overtime, but Colson did not see the ice. Nick Patan gets used in the shootout, but Colson doesn't. OEL doesn't. Hughes doesn't. My theory, and some people are agreeing with me in our inbox here, is that Bruce has a soft spot for players who have spent a lot of time in the minor leagues. Did you have a problem with his deployment last night at all?
The only thing that I would say, again, in-game coaching decisions, a lot of it is instinct and, what they're seeing maybe at their last couple shifts. When it comes to the shootout, I've always, I go back to practice because they do it in practice a lot. And it's funny because there'll be like a stay-at-home defenseman who has 2 goals in the season who scores every time in the shootout in practice. So the coach will go, all right, let's try this guy, and back in 2004, for us, it was like Steve Montador could always score. He was so good in the shootouts, that type of stuff. But for me, I saw Patan. I thought, okay, that's an interesting choice. But again, I'm not sure what practices look like and how he's been in practice as far as the shootout. As far as deployment and overtime, again, it comes back to maybe instinct and going, okay, this guy had a couple nice shifts near the end of the game. Let's see if he can go and get it for us. So you'll always, when you lose, you'll always be questioned. And you never question a win. But unfortunately, when you leave such a critical point on the table, decisions are under the microscope, and so they should, because ultimately, we're in a Canadian market. The teams, the fans are actually very educated, so they want to know too, hey, what was your thought process in that deployment? Because, we saw it differently. So I'm sure Bruce will be asked those questions, and I wonder, it'd be interesting. He's a pretty affable guy. I wonder if he'll give you an honest answer or just kind of brush it off.
Jamie, thanks so much for this. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
You bet.